I had a intense year. This morning I sent a text message. I had anxiety.
Why is that?
I haven't talked about this yet, but
Blake Lively is losing her mind after Justin Baldoni exposed her dirty tactics in his recent interview.
and no amount of I'm sorry's will ever undo it. Hurt people hurt people.
He revealed everything about how she manipulated and used him during the shooting of It Ends With Us, only to turn around and falsely accuse him of harassment when things didn't go her way.
I let go of so much, and I gave it to him.
Justin Baldoni just went nuclear on Blake Lively. And let me tell you, this is the beginning of her absolute meltdown. No more fake smiles, no more PR, crafted golden girl nonsense. Blake Lively is getting exposed for the controlling, manipulative, and downright unbearable diva that she really is.
I don't like her. She seems like a bully. She was such a high-maintenance diva bully brat.
And guess who's making sure the truth gets out? None other than Justin Baldoni himself, the man she tried to ruin but failed miserably.
I want to eliminate as many barriers.
In a recent interview, Baldoni finally broke his silence, and when I say he dragged Blake, I mean he shredded her reputation into pieces. He laid it all out. How this power-hungry control freak hijacked his film, how she sabotaged his career, and how she orchestrated an entire media hit job against him. And here's the kicker. It completely backfired on her. First off, Baldoni opened up about the mental toll this whole circus took on him. Blake's false accusations and endless drama pushed him to severe anxiety and distress, and the man lost major work opportunities because of it.
I wasn't in the best place. I told them that I was exhausted, that I haven't given myself time to recover or time to heal.
You'd think Hollywood would be smarter, but nope. Blake threw her fake victim card into the mix, and suddenly Baldoni was blacklisted, tossed aside like some Hollywood villain. He even lost his own agency because of this mess.
A lot of emotional stress. It's very hard on me and my family.
Let that sink in. His own agency dropped him over a bunch of baseless claims from a woman who just couldn't stand not being in control.
I don't have any ego in this work in that sense, because there is room for all of us.
But here's where it gets ugly. Blake Lively hijacked his movie. And when I say hijacked, I don't mean she gave creative input. I mean she stormed in like she was some Oscar-winning director, shoved Baldoni out of his own project, and tried to erase his influence entirely.
I haven't given myself time to recover or time to heal. I had a intense year, a lot of material success, and a lot of emotional stress. It's very hard on me and my family.
You know, the same guy who spent 5 years developing this film? Yeah, that guy. But in Blake's world, that doesn't matter because she's the star. And in her delusional mind, that apparently means she calls all the shots.
I'm not feeling great. My heart was racing. I'm noticing that, I'm having some anxiety. And when I check in with myself, I realize that I just haven't given myself the time to heal from this year that I needed.
And you know what's even more insane? Blake's entire smear campaign against Baldoni was completely staged. That's right, Brian Friedman, Baldoni's lawyer, exposed how Blake and her PR team literally cooked up false media narratives to make her look like some helpless victim while turning Justin into the villain.
She's a Me Too victim there. That's absurd.
The level of manipulation is actually embarrassing. Like, how do you wake up every morning, look in the mirror and think, yup, I'm going to destroy someone's career today just for fun? Blake tried it, but Justin came prepared with actual evidence. And now she's the one getting torched.
He told us that Justin Baldoni denied those claims of sexual harassment and only tried to appease Blake Lively because she was such a high-maintenance diva bully brat. He had to bend over backwards just to get her to shut up and complete the film.
So what did Blake do when she realized her little PR games weren't working? She did what every entitled Hollywood diva does. She sued. Yep, she slapped a $250 million lawsuit on Justin, thinking she could silence him and make the world feel sorry for her.
I had anxiety because I'm not feeling like my full self. And yet I came today despite, no sleep and not feeling great and, all of the barriers.
But big mistake, huge mistake. because Justin did not hold back. He fired back with a brutal $400 million countersuit, and let me tell you, that's when things got real messy. In his interview, Baldoni completely obliterated her fake Hollywood persona, and the things he said, brutal. He straight up called out her dictatorship behavior, how she forced script rewrites, and this is the best part, how she literally demanded Final Cut approval. Final Cut approval, like she's Martin Scorsese all of a sudden. This is an actress who was hired to act, yet she was out here forcing her way into director-level decisions like she funded the entire movie.
She wrested his movie away from him and decided to try to hurt him with petty, made-up, out-of-context complaints when he pushed back even in the mildest way.
And then, at the film premiere, Blake pulled the ultimate power move. She banned Justin from properly attending his own damn event. You heard that right. The man who actually put years into making this movie happen was forced to stay in a basement while Blake strutted around like she was some Hollywood queen.
That Justin Baldoni, ultimately, by the time they got to the premiere, was mandated by Blake Lively to spend the night in the basement away from his co-stars and didn't even get to see the final cut of his own movie because Blake Lively insisted that she be the one to approve it until he watched it on the screen with his editors.
And of course, she took all the credit because why wouldn't she?
And then what happens when your masculinity is in question? You fall into depression, you have anxiety, you feel like you're failing, that you're not showing up to anything as your full authentic self. You compensate. That's when you start to hurt yourself and other people.
But wait, it gets better. Blake claimed she felt unsafe around Baldoni, but guess what? Justin's lawyer leaked text messages proving she personally invited him to her trailer multiple times. You know, because that's what people do when they feel unsafe. They invite you over for a casual hangout in private. This was so obviously staged that even Hollywood insiders started laughing at her.
Who's telling the truth? Is he some creep harasser who took a shot at somebody like Blake, jeopardizing his movie and his future career? Or is she just extremely high maintenance and someone who plays the victim when she doesn't get her way?
Speaking of Hollywood, they're finally seeing the truth. Insiders are now comparing her to Amber Heard, and honestly, it makes sense. Blake tried to weaponize the Me Too movement just like Amber did, but the difference is, nobody's buying it this time. The false victim act is falling apart, and she's getting called out for what she really is, a manipulative fraud.
Her husband Ryan, several years ago, so I met Blake a few times through Ryan on that film.
Got it.
And thought she seemed nice, and little did I know.
And let's talk about how her legal defeat was absolutely humiliating. This $400 million war she started, she's already losing. The judge ruled against her in the first hearing, denying her gag order request, which means Justin is free to keep exposing her lies. That alone is a major L for her. But then she tried to pull another pathetic move. She demanded to choose who would question her in court.
Well, yeah, that's because that's what you did. You knowingly admitted that's what you do. They want an actress, they hire an actress, they pay you to be an actress, that's your job. But then you do exactly what Justin's accusing you of.
Can you believe that? She thought she could handpick someone who wouldn't tear her apart under oath. But the judge shut her down immediately because, surprise, surprise, that's not how the legal system works. And now, let's talk about how this is about to destroy her financially. If Blake loses this battle, which, let's be honest, she absolutely will, she's going to lose everything. This isn't just some petty Hollywood lawsuit. This is $400 million on the line, which means financial devastation.
So this is like why I love this lawsuit, because this is an insight to the public that everything you read is BS. They just lie. Like literally, we are just being lied to, right? There's somebody behind the scenes who's being a little psycho. They want to control public thoughts. They want to control public minds. And they are basically like, you're going to read this statement with a gun to your head.
Let's do some math real quick. Ryan Reynolds' net worth, $350 million. Blake Lively's net worth, $30 million. If Justin wins, that $400 million lawsuit is going to wipe out their entire empire. Yep. More than everything they own combined. Blake is so delusional that she thought she could take on Baldoni and walk away unscathed, but she played herself harder than anyone could have imagined. And the worst part? Ryan Reynolds is getting real quiet about all of this.
That the moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justin Baldoni have amounted to high treason.
You'd think a loving husband would step up and defend his wife, right? Nope. Not a single word from him. In fact, Hollywood insiders are starting to speculate that he's rethinking his entire marriage. And honestly, who wouldn't? If your wife was publicly exposed for being a manipulative, power-hungry liar, you'd probably start reevaluating your life choices too.
She says he inappropriately smelled my neck when we were doing a scene. Then you see the scene. They're dancing, they're caressing, they're making out. It's like, but the neck thing was too much when he smelled it? Like, all right. They went into my trailer when I was breastfeeding my baby. You're like, that's disgusting. What's wrong with these people?
Blake Lively didn't just want to act in It Ends With Us. She wanted to own the entire damn thing. Because why just do your job when you can steamroll over everyone and turn a movie into your personal vanity project? Blake ignored Justin Baldoni's 5-year vision, forced script rewrites, and demanded creative control as if she were the second coming of Steven Spielberg.
I want all the roles for me and only me. I want full control because I am a controlling bully.
This woman showed up, completely hijacked the film, and made sure everything revolved around her. The movie was supposed to be about domestic abuse awareness, but what did Blake turn it into? A PR stunt for her hair care line and Ryan Reynolds' gin company. Yes, instead of actually promoting the important message behind the film, she shoved her brands into the spotlight, because clearly, her overpriced shampoo is more important than a story about survivors.
And in her complaint, the thing she's bitching about is that this terrible PR campaign that was opened up against her hurt sales of her liquor brand and her hair care products. Oh my God.
But wait, it gets even worse. The press was literally instructed not to ask about the film's themes. Why? Because Blake wanted all eyes on her. The movie's entire premiere tour was a joke. No serious discussions about its message, just Blake parading around like she was accepting an Oscar. She turned every single interview into a love letter to herself, making sure the conversation never strayed away from her genius.
She tried to take over his movie because she has a history of saying, okay, I'll be the star, but what I secretly want to do is direct it and edit it and produce it. I want all the roles for me and only me.
Then there's the diva-level insecurity that is honestly painful to watch. Blake threw a full-blown tantrum over a simple favor too, trying to steal top billing from Anna Kendrick. Yes, Anna Kendrick, the original lead. But because Blake cannot stand being second to anyone, she fought for weeks just to be listed first. Imagine being so insecure that you turn a simple movie credit into a battleground. The staggered billing compromise was laughable. They literally had to create a weird hybrid credit system where Anna's name appeared first, but Blake's was higher on the right-hand side. Seriously, who fights this hard over a font size and placement? Maybe if Blake focused more on acting instead of her fragile ego, she wouldn't be getting absolutely dragged by the media right now.
Some people, now that it's a function on Twitter and Instagram, there's a couple people that I have muted.
Good.
Yeah. Blake Lively.
You can mute people on Instagram?
Yeah, it's a new feature.
Really?
I know. Get excited.
And speaking of getting dragged, let's talk about Megyn Kelly exposing Blake's entire career for the fraud that it is.
So she's
I mean,
a
they
serial
sound reasonable.
fraudster. That's called fraud.
Megyn shredded Blake's fake image, calling her a bully, manipulator, and full-blown fraudster. She compared Blake to Amber Heard, and honestly, the parallels are terrifying.
She seems like kind of a jerk. Wow, she's like kind of a bully. She's rather mean.
Blake, just like Amber, tried to play the victim while stepping on everyone around her. She weaponized the Me Too movement for her own selfish, pathetic PR stunt, and the New York Times even tried to save her.
And Blake Lively went to the New York Times, and the New York Times wrote the sympathetic poor Blake Lively story. Oh, we were all wrong about her and her weird PR. She's actually a good person and a Me Too victim.
But that failed miserably because Justin Baldoni's team leaked receipts. Turns out, you can't rewrite history when actual evidence exists.
And Blake Lively, who I believe thought she would be received or perceived as an Alyssa Milano or Ashley Judd Me Too victim, is instead looking a lot more like Amber Heard.
And the worst part, nobody is standing up for Blake. Not a single co-star has come forward to defend her. Where are all the Gossip Girl cast members? Where are her so-called Hollywood friends? Oh, that's right. They're silent because they know she's guilty as hell. The fact that not one person has vouched for her tells you everything you need to know.
She wrested his movie away from him and decided to try to hurt him with petty, made-up, out-of-context complaints when he pushed back even in the mildest way.
But let's go even further back, because Blake's toxic behavior didn't start with "it ends with us." She's been a nightmare for years, and the receipts go all the way back to Gossip Girl. In 2009, Blake Lively literally admitted, yes, she confessed, to poisoning the Gossip Girl cast against Penn Badgley. Why? Because she didn't like him. That's it. No valid reason, no real issue. Just petty, mean girl nonsense. She actively turned everyone against him just because she felt like it. And then, when she realized he was actually a decent guy, she just moved on like nothing happened.
Against her co-star, Penn Badgley, who played her love interest, Dan Humphrey, on the show. She said, "At first I was so upset that they had hired him, I actually poisoned the whole cast against him."
Penn never spoke out about it, and Leighton Meester never defended Blake either. And here's the best part. Both of them don't even follow her on Instagram anymore. Imagine working with someone for 6 years, then not even wanting to be associated with them online. That says everything about who Blake really is.
And she goes on to say, but then they noticed that he wasn't a jerk and was actually a nice, charming person, and almost immediately I realized it too. But it took me about a week to admit it.
And speaking of her nasty personality, let's talk about the infamous 2016 press junket scandal. Blake humiliated a journalist on live TV, and for what? Congratulating her on her pregnancy. A Swedish journalist just doing her job made the mistake of saying, "You have a cute baby bump." And how did Blake respond? By publicly body shaming the woman on camera. She looked her up and down and said, "Oh, so do you." Yes, she mocked a woman's body in front of an entire press room, all because she was too arrogant and smug to accept a compliment. And guess what? That footage resurfaced in February, right when Blake was trying to paint herself as the poor, bullied victim in her lawsuit.
She winds up suing Justin Baldoni. She files a complaint with the Human Rights Commission out in California saying he sexual harassed me and then he retaliated me by pushing all this bad press about me.
The timing could not have been worse. Blake wanted sympathy, but the world saw the real her instead. A cruel, entitled diva who gets off on humiliating others. And let's not forget about how she faked her friendship with Anna Kendrick. On the surface, Blake and Anna seemed friendly, but behind the scenes, Blake was constantly trying to outshine her. She pulled the same power moves on a simple favor that she did with "It Ends With Us," trying to rewrite the narrative to make herself the main star. But here's the thing, Anna is actually talented, and people like her, which is why Blake's desperate attempts to overshadow her always backfire.
Blake Lively may have a history of not being upfront when she gets cast in a movie of her secret desires to actually play a much bigger role than that of lead actress.
And now, even Hollywood wants nothing to do with Blake. Colleen Hoover, the woman who handpicked Blake for "It Ends With Us," has erased all mentions of her from social media. Gone. Deleted. Like Blake never existed. That is not normal behavior for a director who supposedly supports their lead actress. At this point, Blake Lively has burned every bridge in Hollywood. She manipulated her way to the top, and now everyone is turning their backs on her. Not because they're afraid of bad press, but because they know she's a liability.
Yeah, like Forbes Power Women, and
Yeah.
she's so confident. Exactly, I think that's so telling how confident she is to just say, I have no qualms lying to the director, taking control of their movie, pulling the rug from them. Like, oh my God.
The industry is done with her. Directors don't want to cast her, and even brands are walking away. Because when you're this messy, when you pull this many stunts, and when you alienate every single person around you, the inevitable happens. You lose everything. Blake thought she was untouchable, but Hollywood is finally waking up to the truth. No more fake PR stunts, no more rewriting history, and no more playing the victim. She wanted full control, but now she's lost it all.
I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do.
Blake Lively seriously thought she could manipulate her way out of this disaster, but it's all crashing down in real time. And just when she needed her so-called strongest dragons to fly in and save her, they abandoned her too.
Blake Lively has got a bit of a god complex. She's texting Justin Baldoni about how she sees herself as Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, mother of dragons.
Yes, Blake actually thought she was Daenerys Targaryen and flexed that she had the two most powerful people in her corner, Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds. Because obviously, when you get caught being a fraud, a manipulator, and an all-around nightmare, the only logical thing to do is brag about your celebrity connections like they're your personal bodyguards.
So she's
I mean,
a
they
serial
sound reasonable.
fraudster. That's called fraud.
But guess what? Taylor Swift wanted absolutely nothing to do with this mess. Taylor had fully distanced herself from Blake's PR dumpster fire. And let's be honest, Taylor Swift has enough drama on her own. She doesn't need Blake's Hollywood soap opera dragging her name through the mud. Blake thought she could just drop Taylor's name like a shield, but Taylor didn't even blink. She just did what every sane person does when someone starts spiraling out of control. She stepped back and let Blake self-destruct.
She's literally the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones. That's her. That's me. That's Blake. And she says, and I've got the greatest dragons on earth, Ryan Reynolds and my best friend, who is Taylor Swift, though she's not named or they blacked it out.
And let's talk about Ryan Reynolds, the husband who used to be all over Blake's PR campaigns, standing by her side for those cutesy, scripted couple goals moments. Yeah, he's real quiet now. Insiders are whispering that he's exhausted from all of Blake's scandals. And honestly, who wouldn't be? Imagine waking up every day to see your wife getting roasted on every media platform, losing brand deals, and getting called the next Amber Heard. And speaking of brand deals, those are disappearing fast. Blake's PR team is in full-blown panic mode, but there's no spinning this disaster anymore. Hollywood doesn't want to touch her with a 10-foot pole. Directors are hesitant to cast her, because who wants to deal with an actress who throws tantrums over movie credits and tries to hijack productions?
As a result of Blake Lively apparently wanting control of a movie she did not control, wanting to get the camel's nose under the tent as an actress and then take over the entire production, mission creep on steroids, and was shocked when Justin Baldoni did not want her to do those extra things.
Colleen Hoover's fan base has turned against her. The same people who were excited for It Ends With Us are now dragging Blake across the internet. Even Pitch Perfect fans are roasting her. Anna Kendrick's promo for A Simple Favor 2 was flooded with negative comments about Blake. Imagine being so unlikable that people boycott a movie you're in just because they can't stand you. Blake really outdid herself on this one.
So normal people at home who don't care about this woman at all are looking at her like, I don't like her. She seems like a bully. She seems like somebody who punches down.
And now, Hollywood itself is done with her. She's getting the full blacklist treatment, and you know what? She deserves every bit of it. Not a single major Hollywood star has defended her. That's not a coincidence. Usually, when a celebrity is being falsely attacked, co-stars and friends will speak up. But for Blake, nothing. Just radio silence. Colleen Hoover, the same woman who trusted Blake with her book adaptation, has now scrubbed Blake from her social media entirely. That's not an accident. That's called public distancing. Hollywood's way of saying, we don't know her when someone becomes a toxic liability.
Blake Lively is caught in old footage revealing that yes, her secret plan is to always take control of the movies and lie to the directors.
And let's be real, Blake's career's collapsing faster than she can stage another PR stunt. She has 0 major future projects confirmed, and nobody in Hollywood is running to hire her. Because why would they? She hijacked a movie she wasn't even directing. She filed a lawsuit that backfired spectacularly. She tried to frame Justin Baldoni, but he had receipts. She made everything about herself and ruined a movie's message. And now, her biggest nightmare is coming true. She's getting sued for $400 million. Yep, this lawsuit she started just became the thing that's going to financially ruin her. If she loses, she's done. And Ryan Reynolds? Yeah, he's probably thinking real hard about this marriage right now. If your spouse was in the middle of the biggest Hollywood meltdown of the year, wouldn't you be rethinking your life choices too?
And I could just see Ryan sitting there like, yes, this is exactly what I want, a puppy to kick in the mouth. And you'll do what I say.
Blake thought she was untouchable, but the truth is finally out. She built her career on lies, manipulation, and fake PR stunts, but now, nobody is buying it anymore. She hijacked Justin Baldoni's movie, tried to ruin his reputation, and lost everything in the process. And it's not just Justin Baldoni and Megyn Kelly exposing her. Hollywood insiders are turning on her too. She thought she could rewrite history, but leaked text messages and insider accounts are proving otherwise.
Brian Friedman produced text messages between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. So we don't have to take his side's word for it.
And now, she's on the verge of being blacklisted completely. No credibility, no trust, no future projects. Blake ran her career straight into the ground, and the best part? She did it all to herself. Blake thought she could control everything. But this time, the truth is winning. Justin Baldoni's interview just solidified her downfall, and the Hollywood fairy tale she tried to sell us for years completely shattered. Blake Lively's Hollywood reign is over, and this downfall is only getting worse. Subscribe for more updates on her collapse.